All right, guys, we're back. So this is like an important topic for me personally, right? I'm currently going through this with a contractor that was doing some work on my other house for me, and it made me realize that this is apparently not common sense, even to people that own and run their own businesses. It's like this rules of engagement, right? So when you have a buyer and seller relationship, it's really simple, right? A buyer comes to you to purchase something, usually goods or a service, and in exchange, you give them said goods or service, and they provide you some kind of compensation, usually in the form of cash. This is important. This applies to TCG player, this applies to going to the grocery store, it applies to purchasing a new piece of equipment, hardware, tech, a laptop, computer, getting someone to come cut a tree down in your house. It doesn't matter what this is. It's a simple, basic idea of goods and services exchange, right? You provide money, they provide you a goods and service, everyone walks away happy. Now, part of this rules of engagement, right? And you're like, why do you keep saying rules of engagement? This matters because there's a certain amount of etiquette that you have to maintain as someone who is providing a service or goods to someone. I am aware that you can't always do the TCG player. You have to respond in 24 hours. Sometimes you just kind of make do. You let the notice go by. I'm just as guilty of this as everyone else. To respond immediately is a little bit unrealistic. So if you have someone who's buying something from you and their first reaction is, where's my card? And it's been like 4 days, probably going to be a pain in the butt person. Gonna be candid. If you receive a message 2-3 weeks later, and they're like, hey, my card's still not here, what can we do? Like, what's going on? That's when you engage in this rules of engagement occur now. You, as a provider of said goods, have a certain expectation to maintain professionalism and to provide a service that leaves the customer feeling happy with their exchange of goods. Now, why is this so relevant? I'm currently dealing with 2 issues. One is for my Twilight Masquerade cases that I purchased for about $200. I used a ton of store credit and I purchased them for $200, right? We're all aware of this. The video did great. It had like 800,000 views, something like that. I don't remember what it is. Something decent. The seller shipped the boxes. My post office failed to provide me the little alert notifications, or it blew off somewhere. I don't know, like doing some windstorms and things. It's possible, whatever. I'm not faulting the U.S. Post Office, right? The problem is when a seller ships something, it's under their email address and name, right? They shipped it. I'm the receiver, but they shipped it. So all the contact info around who paid for the shipping is the seller. That's why when someone who purchases something from you reaches out saying, hey, where is my XYZ? You follow through and provide them with said information. Now, this individual I purchased these cases from, I'm not going to put the store name out there, but they suck, and they have spent a week or 2 playing shenanigans, and basically their response was, not my problem, figure it out. Okay, I figured it out. We now have a problem that has arrived. The Twilight Masquerade box had a hole punched in it, and one of the cases was tampered with. It's damaged. The boxes inside appear to be okay-ish. However, I purchased a sealed case, which is a very important thing. This case is no longer sealed. So now I have to go through a customer exchange process of what are you going to do to make this right for me as someone who is purchasing your goods while you're being a jerk. I just leave crappy reviews, and then it hurts them on the platform, and it is what it is, and they'll probably provide me some monetary meager amount of exchange back. But the reality is if I ship them back the case, I had this catch-22 now. I purchased this over a month ago. At the time, Twilight Masquerade boxes, I think it was like $18.90 after taxes and shippings. I pay 6% sales tax, which means, what was it? So about $108 in sales tax. So it was about $17.90 shipped to my door for the 2 cases, not counting the sales tax. Those cases are now, Twilight Masquerade popped another $20 a box, a combined $250 more expensive, which means if I insist on him replacing it, which I'm going to assume he's going to say, oh no, I can't replace it, unfortunate. And it's probably fair, he can. He's going to be fire selling what he had. I'm going to be out $120 because if I go try and replace it with another sealed case, I lose $120 to replace it at a similar condition / quality. So I need to now evaluate, what do I want from this engagement? This is important. I'm going to be aiming probably for 15% off because I paid for a sealed case. It's damaged. I'm going to have to open up a box and I'll use it as an opening fodder on the channel. You know, whatever. It is what it is. I get some discounts back, but I'm going to have to ultimately replace that box. Now, the nice thing is with my plan with Pokemon, I personally don't mind holding loose boxes. I have a fair number of loose Twilight Masquerade boxes already. I don't mind adding 5 or 6 more. So for me, that's not really a big loss. However, there is always a sealed premium. It's minor, but it's always nice having a sealed case of a product, especially newer age stuff. Now, as a seller, you have a certain obligation to be polite and courteous until your goods exchange contract and sale is completed. This is super important. It needs to be completed. Now, if you're dealing with me being a pain in the ass over damaged product and you think it's unreasonable and blah, 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 that's fine. You talk a bunch of crap about me to your buddies behind closed doors where no one can listen, and you just move on with your life. It's very easy. What you don't do is be an absolute benign ass clown to people that are attempting an ongoing purchase with you where goods and services are still refundable and exchangeable, because that creates problems for you as a retailer. That causes monetary damage, which can easily be mitigated by just proper communication and good communication. And good communication. It's like a really simple process here. Now, why is this important? I'm going through the exact same thing, different scenario, but I had some people do some work on my home. They came in. All in all, I think they did great work. However, in the process of them doing said work, they broke something. I was supposed to remove it. I did not. However, what they did is they removed it, put the onus on them, and they broke it. And then they left it behind for me, so I have evidence of it. Really awkward for them, because now I have proof that they did this. Okay, so they've been absolute jerks about it, like horrifying jerks. I've had a month and a half of exchanges with these people, and I just want them to fix it. And they have just proceeded to be just belligerent about this. And now, because we have not exchanged goods and services and this contract has not been completed, they can't go talk shit yet. Instead, they just chose to talk shit to my face, which is even worse. We now have this situation where I, quote unquote, have them by the gonads, and they still have not received my money, and I'm now very upset with them. This is the nightmare situation when you're dealing with a seller and client relationship, right? The worst thing that you can do is have a super unhappy, pissed off client that has you by the gonads, because you are held by the gonads. And I don't know if you've ever been grabbed there or kicked there, but it hurts a whole lot, and it's very unpleasant. Would not suggest. I'm sure you have a niece or a nephew that has done it to you. For the gentlemen out there, for the ladies, you know, whatever. It still hurts being hit down there, I'm sure. So it's not pleasant. If you're just polite with people, this is totally avoided. Now, going into more rules of engagement here. When you're listing and moving items on TCG Player, right? Condition, etc. is super important, right? So if you're unsure on condition, TCG Player has a beautiful, very long, overly verbose guide on how to grade and condition the things you're selling. And even me, as a seller who has handled millions of cards, legitimately, I've sold tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cards at this point. Even I still miss it sometimes because I missed a scratch or something or a nick, and it was just enough to downgrade it one more step than it was. But generally speaking, I don't get condition issues on my cards very often. When that does happen, you say, my bad, would you like me to refund you the order partially? You can keep the card. Would you like me to ship it back to you? Or if it's just a card that cost a cent, I'll usually just write it off as a loss and say, hey, would you like me to just refund the order? And I'll refund them half the order and they can enjoy their 50-cent card that they got or whatever it is. There are times when even if you are right as a seller about condition or the situation, 9 times out of 10, it is just simply better to say, please, sir, have a nice day. What can I do to help? And regardless of whether you want to say that or not, that is what makes the difference between an amazing seller and a crappy seller who enters into those goods and services contracts. Once your goods and service contract is completed, right? This exchange is over. You have the money in your wallet or bank account from said exchange of goods and services. Now you can do all the crap talking you want. You can do all the yelling at the walls. And same thing as a buyer, once you have received your goods, you can jump in euphoria or cry in joy at your cardboard tendies you bought that didn't turn out to be tendies, or whatever is going on, right? This is important. I'm going to do another video after this one, because this is kind of like a pseudo rant exchange thing. I hate when I'm dealing with people and they're just so many horrible words I can't say on camera because we're on YouTube, but not for kids. But still, it is such a simple thing. And especially when you're dealing with written communications, right? Like, it's in person to person, it's really easy to let your temper get taken over or you lose your cool. And I get that. It happens. Some people are just not as good in person as they are via behind a screen. The beautiful part about responding via chat and via email is you can take a step back, you can edit your response before you send it, you can send very clear and concise, well-written, and keynote, polite responses to people versus rubbing their nose in faces into things that they don't want to sniff and making them feel like crap about the whole situation. It will save you so many headaches in the long run just by being nice to people. It is so great. I had another seller, he shipped me the Scarlet Violet base boxes when I had the big mail day, and you guys saw them. I had 2 of them that were like just crushed in from the box being bricked. It happens. I feel for the seller on this one. I reached out to him. I was like, hey, here's photos of the damage. 2 of the boxes had crushed packs in them. I'm expecting 6 to 8 packs in each box roughly to potentially be affected. I either have to open these and verify, or I need to go purchase and replace them and have you ship me replacements. And I would have been fine if you had shipped me replacements because they were loose boxes anyway. However, I know the math in this situation, right? He has to send me a return label. He's already shipped me a return label. It's going to cost him another $20 just to get the product back. It's going to cost me another $20 or $30 to go replace the product. So in my case, I'm just like, you know what? I go to Collecticons. I'll just set them out, sell them by the pack, get whatever I can premium-wise for them. It is what it is. I'll take the front 5-6 packs, set them off to the side, discount those because they were potentially damaged. I'll have someone open up the front one. If it's fine, it's fine. If it's not, it's not. And then I'll just replace the boxes with whatever the cost is at the time. The seller and I reached a very amicable position, and I was like, hey, this is the cost of a box for me to go replace it today. I think there's 6 to 7 damaged packs, roughly. Meet me in the middle at 7. Here's a price per pack. It's $54. Again, you've been very polite with me. Knock off $50. We'll call it a day. It's like 15 bucks more than he initially offered me. And he's like, sure. Refunded me immediately. It was great. He got a 5-star review, prompt and courteous communication. Everything ended well. Everyone's happy. He's like, crap, I ate it a little bit. However, he can write it off because he has a business, hopefully. And at the end of the day, it all works out and everyone's happy. You've created a happy contract exchange. This is so important. When you irritate the person who has your goods and services and can ring you over the fire, they will ring you over the fire if you make them angry. I won't say 100% of the time, but probably 99% of the time, if you piss off whoever you're selling something to, they're going to ring you over the coals, or they're going to hope they can. And they're not going to say anything good about you, and they're probably going to leave a terrible review. I've had a few people that have left unjust reviews that I've had no control over, and TCG players sided with me and actually removed them. It's why I have almost, am I 10,000 sales? I think I'm 10,000 5-star sales now. And I have like one MetaZoo person that like gave me a crappy review like back in like 2011. He's like, shipped my pack in a whatever thing and it didn't arrive in great condition. Like never sent me photos of it. Nothing. Like, I tried to reach out to him to make it right. Guy just literally never responded. I'm like, you know what, dude? Like, whatever, man. Like, MetaZoo people. Download button is flying at 1,000 miles an hour. But I just really wanted to talk about this because it's such a simple concept, and it seems like everyone has just forgotten this. And I've noticed it more and more and more. 2 years ago when I was doing that, 3 years ago when I first started doing this, everyone is super friendly. COVID's kind of starting to happen 3-4 years ago. Very different ecosystem. Now, year over year over year, I've noticed more and more sellers, specifically sellers, not even buyers. I have pretty much consistently, like, if I look at my year in review, I have probably 1 or 2 people out of the thousands of orders that are just absolute little terrorists in my life. They're just horrible about things. They leave crappy reviews for no reason. They talk a bunch of crap. I always have all this stuff logged with TCG Player because I don't email people normally unless I get damaged photos. Otherwise, I keep everything on platform. And I've avoided ever getting a bad review for this because I follow these simple protocols of being polite and courteous. And even though they're being absolute shitheads about this, I've never had an issue with TCG Player siding with me and removing these reviews because I'm polite, courteous, and I have no control over someone being absolutely rude for zero reason. The inverse is if you're the seller and you ghost people for weeks, you don't respond, you send damaged products, and then you don't respond again, TCG Player is just going to crucify you because as a seller, they don't side with you. Fun fact, eBay will side with you if you're a seller. It's very much friendly on eBay. TCG Player is excessively buyer friendly. They'll eat the cost on some orders for you sometimes if it doesn't arrive in time or whatever. But generally speaking, they're just like, nah, buyer's fault, eat it, just eat a fat one. Like, you're good. Kiss it. So TCG Player really doesn't care about your feelings on that one as a seller. So they're going to side with the buyer, which in this case is me. So, guy doesn't respond for days. I have no response back from him. Pain in the butt. I finally get the packages. It's damaged. I'm going to take photos, send to TCG Player. I'm basically going to ask them to refund me whatever they deem is reasonable. And for a damaged, opened case now, they're probably going to refund me fairly heavily is my guess. So this guy's probably going to be pretty cooked. And if he had just responded, been polite, and said, hey, it's been 3 days. I reached out. This is where it's at. I would suggest going here. And I would have gone and picked it up and would have been fine. Instead, I had to ask my wife to go make an errand trip for me. Go find out where it got sent to a different post office. Not even to our regular one. I'm like, oh, it's some random ass post office. And now people are running all over the place. And now my wife's time's been wasted. My time's been wasted. Well, my time wasn't wasted because I was going to go pick it up anyway, I guess. But like, just the whole exchange has turned into a big waste. So it's very distasteful. And these situations are very easily avoided. Like, so easily avoided. And I feel like it's important, and this is going on way too long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it here soon. And it's very important as a seller that you maintain this professionalism, and it's so important that you do because it will benefit you in the long run. And the best part is about selling on TCG Player is you can just take a step back and be like, problem child, I don't need to vent to you or talk to you. It'll be okay. Draft up a very polite response. Hello, so-and-so. I'm very sorry your card arrived damaged. What can we do to make this right? Insert your store name. Send. And everything's happy. And you're being polite and courteous about it. And TCG Player will side on you if they try and leave you a crappy review. Because you have done everything in your power, according to their seller guidelines, to provide a proper service. When you fail to provide a proper service is when usually bad things happen. And it would behoove everyone that is listening to this who is following my journey and intends to follow my steps or do similar things to me, or even not in the card world, just if you start your own business. Being courteous and professional is number one, each, I don't know, like just find a way to express number one. It is the penultimate thing that you can do as a service provider and a goods provider is have polite and courteous communication. Even if you're wrong or right, it doesn't matter. Be polite and courteous. It is such a simple concept, and I just want to express how important that is, especially going into this new year, because it seems to be a bit of a spicy one, and it's only like a week into it. Whew. Whew. I'm excited. Let's bring it, boys. We're going for 400%. Later, guys.